Faith versus belief. What's the difference when creating our own reality? We're going to talk about this today. This is Tom Kieran with the Be Something Wonderful studio of Higher Consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Welcome back, creators. I want to talk about faith versus belief and believing in the power of belief. So we've talked about how feelings and emotions, the role they play in creating our own reality, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I want to back up a bit and go to belief, because belief really is the substance that communicates with the divine matrix, that energy, that quantum field, and creates what we have in our life. What we believe in is what we get. What we believe in is who we are. And what we create and who we are is what we create in our reality. So it's important that we understand the role of belief. And this comes from Greg Brandon again in The Spontaneous Power of Belief in one of his books. I'll leave a link below. But it's building on what we already know. We're going to talk a little bit more about thoughts and feelings and emotions and the role they play in. But we cannot get past our beliefs. And Abraham Hicks, the spiritual teacher, talks about this. You can't create more than your belief. So we've got to have to tackle beliefs before we can really get a handle on deliberately creating our own reality and what we want in our life. So what's the difference? What's the difference between having faith and having belief? Well, having faith, there's no direct evidence. It's a trust, essentially, without any evidence. Neville Goddard talks about it as faith. It's faith in the unseen. It's evidence of the unseen, essentially. That's what faith is. It's evidence of the unseen. It's the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things that are not seen yet. So faith is believing despite the evidence, despite the lack of evidence. This is a good thing, but when we really want to get to the point where we're creating our own reality, sometimes we can't get beyond that. Sometimes we can't have the faith, right? It'd be great to just believe or have faith without evidence, but belief is having some evidence. It's based on evidence. It's a conviction of a truth based on evidence, and this is why we create what we believe. It's belief with feeling, right? You have to have feeling in there, otherwise you can't create without it. Abraham Hicks would describe thought as something you keep on. Belief is something that you have thought about over and over again. But it's more than that. It's really a special type of feeling, right? You can be in a situation where you have a belief about something, like this is not the right place at the right time. It's a belief. It's an instinct. It's a feeling that you get. So it's a conviction based on. It can be based on past things, but it's a conviction of a truth that you have. And this is a great definition, because if you ever get people in a room talking about politics, they have a lot of beliefs, and feelings are attached to those beliefs. Right? Who the candidate that they believe is the right candidate, they have a lot of feelings about that. So this is the idea of belief. Belief defined as what you think is true in the mind with what you feel is true in the heart. This is belief. This is a very, very powerful creator, if not the creator of your reality. What you think is true in the mind. So it's a thought, but beyond that, it's an entrenched thought that you really think is true, that you feel is true in the heart. When you combine those, you have an inner experience. That inner experience is communicated to that divine matrix or that God consciousness. It's instant. We talked about the characteristics of the divine matrix. It's instant communication, and then you create your physical reality. This is what we're doing. We're creating every day with what we believe, but what we think is true in our mind, which we feel is true in our heart. That's a belief. Very powerful definition, guys, and it really summarizes a lot of what we've been talking about. Remember, faith. So how do we believe? Well, we got to believe in the power of belief. So there's another aspect to it. We got to have faith that this creates. So this is very interesting, right? That our beliefs create. It's like we have to have a belief in our belief. that it is a creative force. We've got to know that the beliefs, which is something that you think that is true in your mind and you feel is true in your heart, so thinking and feeling come together. And again, it's a great definition if you even think about it as getting two people that are on opposing views in politics, for example. They have a belief of who their candidate is. They think it's true in their mind. They think this candidate is right in everything. And they feel it in their heart. Therefore, they create a strong belief that's communicating with the divine matrix and creating in their reality. Wow. Very powerful, guys. Very powerful. Remember that the divine matrix that I noted over here is where everything exists. And we're connected and is connected. Everything's connected and exists within this matrix. It's by this force. So there's a connection, that God consciousness. Not only that does the God consciousness are we connected by it, but that we exist within it and we're part of it. We're participants in this God matrix. We can't just observe what's going on. We're actually creators and participants in that. The other aspect of the divine matrix that is important for these definitions up here is the holographic nature of it. A portion of the field contains everything in the field. A portion of the field contains everything in the field. So our belief, what we believe, what we think and feel is holographic. It's a portion of the field that contains everything in the field. So it's not just here, but it's everywhere immediately. It's not just with us, but it's with everybody immediately. Because we're a part of the whole. Right? And our part is whole in itself in a holographic universe. So our interchanges are already everywhere. Any interchanges that we make, any beliefs we have are already everywhere in the divine matrix. Very powerful in terms of creating. If we're creating out of fear, if we're filling it with fear, then it's powerful in that direction, that we're going to that fear is everywhere and that we're going to attract and create out of that. So this is very powerful. This is the difference between faith and belief. Faith is good. It's a good thing. And maybe we need the faith to believe in the power of belief. Maybe we need the faith to believe that there is this, what some have called the divine mind. Some have called God's mind. They've called it the field of infinite possibilities. We called it God consciousness. We called it the great I am also in previous episodes. It is that God consciousness. That's where we're going to probably need faith, because we're going to have to believe that exists if we want to deliberately create with our beliefs, right? If we don't believe that inner experience is immediately connected to and responds to and creates within this divine matrix, which creates the physical reality, then there's no hope, right? Because that's the difference. So faith has its place, and faith, it is faith in that God or that divine matrix or that energy. But we've already examined it through quantum physics, and there's been experience pointing to this divine matrix. It's actually proved that this divine matrix is real and that it exists. All those experiences, we talked about the observer effect, collapsing the wave. They've done experiments on the double slit experiment, and then the double slit experiment that even an electron changes the past, the choice it made in the beginning based on where it ended up in the end. This has all been done in experiments over and over again that proves that this thing exists, that it not only affects the past and the future, it can affect the past. It not only affects the present and the future, it can affect the past. This is powerful. We'll hit some of these experiments in future videos to talk about them, this quantum weirdness. But it's real, and this is why many times we can struggle with our creating, or we think we're struggling, because we're struggling against our beliefs. So it's not that the law of attraction doesn't work. A lot of people say that. It's because thought alone doesn't create. It's thoughts really plus feelings. It's a belief, a thought, or what we think in our minds, plus what we feel is true in our heart. That's the creative power. Why? This is all that electromagnetic energy. The heart is 5,000 times greater, or transmits 5,000 times more force of electromagnetic energy than the brain. So So this is why it's very powerful that the heart has to be involved in creating. We'll talk more about this in future episodes. I'll leave a link to Greg's book. We're going to talk more about some of the mind-boggling stuff in his book. It all fits into what we've been talking about, guys. But belief in the power of belief, believing in the power of belief, that this divine matrix works, that belief is this definition, and you can prove it to yourself when you get with a friend in a room and talk about something you're passionate about. And that this is an inner experience. Belief, thoughts, and feelings are always an inner experience. They're always the language in the metaphysical side, communicating with the divine matrix, or that God consciousness, and that's what creates physical reality. Very powerful, fits into everything, guys, we've been talking about it. We'll point more to this. I'll leave a link below. We're gonna dissect this little by little as we go along. We're gonna talk about a lot more exciting stuff. But this is Tom Kieran with the Be Something Wonderful studio of Higher Consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like and share our videos. That's how we get our message out. Until next time, this is Tom. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.